In this class we're going to look at learning from others. Now, an effective learner is one who can utilize resources and people to achieve goals. An effective learner knows what the resources available are and knows what the goal is and can structure the resources in a way to achieve the goals. Drawing on past experience perhaps, learning from past experience and learning from what the theory suggests, learning from what was picked up in lectures, as well as practical experience perhaps from the past. Being able to learn from others is an acquired skill. When we are open to learning from others, we benefit from their knowledge and experience. In business, this is a very valuable source of knowledge. People who have worked in business for some time will have accumulated a lot of experience, the experience of how to do certain things, and perhaps the experience of failing in the past and learning from the failures. Now, all of that experience, if it's passed on to other members of staff, perhaps newer members of staff, can lead to greater efficiency because the same mistakes will not be made. So companies have histories, and the histories are their experiences, and these can lead to better practices in the current situation. But learning from others require good interpersonal skills, especially communications and listening skills. Interpersonal skills is when two or more people communicate and interact with each other. It's a two-way or a many-way conversation and learning situation. But for that to be effective, there must be good communications. There must be clear understanding of what is being communicated. And there must be good listening skills. There must be clear understanding and good interpretation of the words. Learning is a lifelong process which requires hard work, dedication and commitment. Learning doesn't end when the college course finishes or the university finishes. Learning is every day, because every day there are new experiences, and every day there is something to reflect upon. And the reflection adds to our knowledge, it adds to our experiences, it adds to our knowledge that we can bring to bear when we meet similar circumstances in the future. Now, the types of learning methods and approaches. Well, there are social networks where people interact. There's mentoring, where perhaps one person with a lot of experience will attempt to pass on that experience to another member of staff. Perhaps in a company, a senior member of staff with many years of experience and lots of experiences of what's gone right and what's gone wrong. That person may mentor, may pass on that knowledge to a new member of staff. There's also what we call shadowing and observing, where a member of staff associates with another member of staff and watches how the other member of staff, the experienced member of staff, does things, how the other member of staff works. So best practices are picked up. And there's learning from professionals, learning from the way in which professionals portray themselves, perhaps on courses, perhaps on short courses, specialist courses, or invited speakers. Sometimes companies invite in consultants, and observing the consultants and the way they structured themselves and organized themselves may be a pointer as to what is best practice in the future. And also following instructions, where members of staff follow the instructions and follow the instructions closely, and that should lead to learning as to whether the instructions are correct, but also learning from the logic of the instructions. There could also be job rotation, where a member of staff does several jobs, not all at the same time, but works in one department, then finishes and works in a different department, but in so doing is gaining a wider understanding of the organisation and of the functions of the various departments, and hence is acquiring a lot more skill. And of course experience, not just of existing members of staff, but the experience of the person, him or herself, who has been trained, their past experiences, their college lives or university lives or school lives, their lives in terms of the extracurricular activities that they were involved in, which could be anything from sport to music to theatre to travel to whatever. And they may be able to take parts of that experience into the work situation to help them in special circumstances and special situations. And of course we learn through research. Research is very important because it gives us knowledge. It's how we dig out information. So research is important. And finally, courses and teaching and learning. The courses that we've attended at college or at university, the specialist courses that we may attend, and what we've learned from these. These are all important in terms of the learning that we achieve, that we undertake and achieve as we work through the organisation. Now let's work our way through some of these, and we'll start with social networks, which is right at the start, and the rest of this session will be just working through the list we've just completed. So, social networks, well, it's a means of meeting people who have a common goal. As a group, you form a network of support. So within companies, it's possible to have networks within companies. People who are interested in certain aspects of the work may form a network, and in this network they have perhaps meetings once in a while at agreed times, and they talk about issues and problems and look for support from each other on how to solve the problems and look for better ways of working. Social networks can consist of people in the same specialist field, for example, peers, colleagues, line managers and supervisors. So it's a network of people who are interested in certain issues. It's a social network because it's the people coming together to exchange views and discuss issues in the context in which we're talking here, related to a business. Social networks helps individuals learn from other experiences and receive support and guidance. And that's the whole idea of the social network. It's meant to be supportive. It's meant to discuss issues and help solve problems and indicate better ways in which to work and work through problems. Social networking is becoming increasingly common through social network sites online. For example, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. These are some of the really big ones, but there are many others. The popularity of these sites have made it increasingly easy to meet new people who share a common goal. A lot of the Facebook and Twitter and so on is to do with social networks, in other words, friends who share common interests in music or sport or fashion or whatever, hobbies, whatever it is. But LinkedIn tends to be more looking for work, professional work, careers, posting CVs, and a more professional type of social networking. Mentoring and coaching. Well, Individuals can learn through supervisors who guide and instruct them through their training for a specific job. Now, a mentor is someone with experience who can pass on that experience to someone else, to somebody without the experience, obviously. And normally mentoring is a one-to-one situation. Coaching tends to be one to a few, one to perhaps 3 or 4 people, and those are being coached, but they're being coached in set ways. If they encounter a certain situation, then this is the standard response. Having said that, coaching can be given to one person as well, of course, where the one person is made aware that under certain circumstances this may occur, in which case here is the standard response. Here's the way to deal with that issue. But generally speaking, coaching, I think, tends to apply to a few individuals. Mentoring is one-to-one, where the mentor passes on experiences and talks through problems, usually with one person, and guides that one person in their career. It involves constant critical evaluation of progress and development. When I say critical here, I don't mean in a bad way. I mean critical in a constructive way, trying to get the individual to do even better. No matter how well they've done, there's always room for improvement. So try to squeeze the last drop of improvement out of the person. So no matter how good the report or the document was, try to improve it. It's very seldom we get 100% for our efforts. We might get 95 or 99, but 100 is difficult. So always room for improvement, and that's what the mentor is trying to do, trying to pull out that extra effort. Trainees will be required to undertake activities, tasks, and follow instructions while being assessed by their mentor. So here the mentor takes the trainee and gives the trainee tasks, and then talks over the task with the trainee and looks at the solutions that have come up and criticizes them constructively to try and make them better, try to make improvements. So it's a constant learning process, and it tends to be one-to-one. Now, shadowing and observation. Shadowing can also be referred to as an assistant role. So it's like having an assistant. Individuals will observe the activities, roles and responsibilities of their seniors before taking full authority of the job in question. So when a member of staff has, let's say, been promoted, their existing job needs to be covered. So a new person is taken in and they watch how the person works. They watch the processes and they learn by asking questions. Why did you do that? And what is this form? And why do we fill it out? And where does it go when it's filled? This is shadowing. They're shadowing the job. They're watching the job being done, and they're learning and making notes so that when they take over, they are qualified to do it and they won't make mistakes. This type of training allows employees to be fully involved in the job. They may be required to act as assistants and carry out routine tasks. So in addition to watching the job, the person who is being observed may give small tasks to the person who is observing, who is shadowing. Small tasks, ask them to complete those, and at the same time being very open and honest about what they're doing, so that the person shadowing is getting a full and honest picture of the job, and which will enable them to take on the role, take on responsibility later. It also provides an opportunity for employees to consider whether the job suits their skills and capabilities. The person shadowing, having observed the job and having observed the tasks and the routines of the work, may not like the work. So rather than jumping straight in and taking on the job and finding it's bad and leaving, perhaps leaving the business, they're leaving the business with a problem, that there is a role not being fulfilled. So rather than that, the shadowing process means that the person who is shadowing gains knowledge of the requirements and either agrees or does not agree at that stage. If they don't agree, well, someone else is brought in to shadow and learn the task. But there is no gap or discontinuity as a consequence of the person leaving because they didn't like the job. Learning from professionals. Well, individuals often learn from their seniors who acquire years of experience and expert knowledge in their fields. Now, these professionals could be senior managers, they could be professionals in the wider area, people who have perhaps published books on the topic, or consultants who go to companies and deliver in-house training programs. So they can come from a variety of sources. They include supervisors, team members, line managers, teachers and lecturers, and other professionals. So they can be from a wide background. Having the opportunity to learn from others provides invaluable experience. Individuals will develop and learn new skills, acquire new knowledge, which they can utilize to progress in their chosen career. Learning from people who have experience of the work is invaluable because this is specific to the job. And if the people who are training, if the professionals who are delivering these experiences are honest and say, in the past we did this and it failed, and the reason why it failed was as follows, that's good, because that means that experience has been passed on. And should similar situations arise in the future, the people working know what the likely outcomes are and what can be done. So learning from professionals is very valuable. Following instructions, well, learning occurs on the job, where employees have the opportunity to acquire skills and experience directly related to their job role. So the employees know what their job role is, and they acquire experience from performing that job role. But of course, situations change. In engineering, the raw materials may vary in quality. In the office, somebody may go ill, and there may be situations where the tasks have to be covered, but they don't have complete expertise in covering for the person who's away ill. So there's learning on the job. Another method of learning is by listening to, observing, and then following instructions. Therefore, it's important that individuals can listen and take notes when given instructions. The person given the instructions will have experience. The person given the instructions will have a good idea about what is required, and should also alert those listening to possible problems and how to deal with possible problems. So it's important that the individuals who are listening can take notes and can understand what's been said and are prepared in the context of any issues that arise, any problems that arise when doing the work later. Anyone from a trainer, supervisor, to a co-worker can be an instructor. providing they have the relevant capabilities to train or guide an employee or an individual. So anyone can be a trainer, providing they have got the experience and the ability to impart knowledge, to impart the experiences, and to communicate efficiently and effectively with the individual who has been trained. There are numerous methods that allow this process to be successfully achieved. It's important that an individual is familiar with their job role. This includes its purpose, goals, and achievable outcomes. So it's absolutely essential that the individual is familiar with their job role. They must know what's the purpose of the job, what are they doing. They must relate to the work, they must understand its context. If not, they will not be motivated. They will not engage the work effectively. So they must know what its purpose. What are the goals? What are they trying to achieve? So they must understand this and work in that sort of environment, the environment which explains why the task that they're performing is important and what to do if an issue arises, if a problem arises. The instructor or trainer acts as a model. For example, role plays, giving instructions and being informative. The person doing the job must look to someone. What happens if the machine breaks down? What will I do then? They must look to the trainer as the person who can come and fix it and get it going again. So there must be some reference to the trainer as the person who will be there if an issue arises. And individuals, employees, imitate their instructors until they are confident enough to work on their own initiative. Generally speaking, when they start working for the first time and have got their instructions and the job has been explained to them, they will try to follow precisely what the instructor has said. But of course, learning by doing means that after a while they will have built up confidence and experience in doing the job, and they may vary it slightly according to their own abilities. They may vary it slightly to make themselves more efficient in doing the job because they work slightly differently. But at the early stages, they will work precisely as the instructor tells them. Now, job rotation. Well, job rotation allows individuals to experience different roles and positions within an organization. This is important. It's a good way of widening experience within the organization to give workers the opportunity to experience different parts of the organization so that they start to build up an understanding of the importance of all the various parts and how it fits together. This process is very effective as individuals have an opportunity to develop skills, knowledge and capabilities. Well, it widens their skills because they can see the organization from different perspectives. It widens their knowledge. They have different tasks to perform and they find the work more interesting. And because they're working in different ways, they're, of course, developing different capabilities. It broadens their understanding of the business operations, and that's very important. It will engender some loyalty to the organization, greater understanding of what the organization is trying to do, understand the complexity of the organization, the complexity of the product. So it leads to greater involvement with the business and the overall goals of the business. It reduces boredom as well and generates more ideas and innovation. People new to jobs may come up with ideas that perhaps others haven't thought about. So why do we do it this way? Why not do it that way? because nobody's ever thought of that before. It's possible. So it could lead to innovation. It could lead to change in the work pattern. But it certainly leads to reduced boredom for the individual worker, because it's a new environment, it's a new process, it's a new way of working, and they will welcome that, generally speaking. So job rotation is enrichment. It's job enrichment, and the workers feel better for it. And they have this exposure to different job roles, so that is good. Now let's turn to experience. Experience is a process often used by on-the-job training. Now, on-the-job training, the idea is to build up experience of the job and of the work routine. Learning takes place by doing. It can be very effective, but also very time-consuming. So learning by doing means teaching the worker the various processes that need to be undertaken and completed, and then explaining to them why the processes are in that sequence and the importance of the processes and any tolerances or any issues surrounding each process, how to get it right, and in the case of failure, what to do, how to fix or remedy a situation that has gone wrong. So it can be time consuming, but it can be very effective. The method is most effective if followed by other training methods. For example, apprenticeships. Apprenticeships are essentially work situations where there's theory combined with practice. Apprenticeships are normally for workers post 16, after leaving school, who don't want to go to university or to college, but want to get jobs and earn some money, but also to learn and get a career. So apprenticeships means it's a very practical type of learning. They can learn within the company, but also they are given the opportunity to pick up or study for some qualifications, vocational qualifications. And at the end of some specified time period, perhaps 3 years or 5 years, at the end of that period they become a qualified, whatever it is, a qualified mechanic or engineer or electrician or whatever the skill is. So apprenticeships is a way of getting experience. Now, learning through research. Well, learning can take place through effective researching skills. Research is how we get new information. It's how we get knowledge. So we obviously learn from research. Even if the research fails, we've learned from the experience of setting it up and doing it, we've learned why it failed and how to avoid the issues in the future. But if it doesn't fail, it yields results. We have learned from the results. Research is how we move forward in industry, in commerce, in the academic field, in medicine, in all areas. We research to try and solve problems and try to get insights into relationships, perhaps in physics or in chemistry or in biology or in business or in engineering. We research. And this is learning. Effective research allows us to be independent learners. We are all able to go and search for information, providing we know where to search. So we can be quite independent. An individual who has an idea about a new product can go and research the product, can go and research the market for similar products, or can research the technical requirements for the product that they have in mind. That's independent learning. And it's learning through research. Research is giving the person information. Some examples, well, could use the internet, for example. That's a great source of information. Or go to a library. Again, we research in libraries most commonly. Depends on the nature of the research. If it's looking at products, for example, and how customers receive a product, you might want to go to local communities or communities where the product is sold to conduct the research. Or maybe the media contains articles, perhaps past newspapers or magazines, or it could be video footage from television companies. These may be accessed perhaps online, or it could be accessed in local libraries or requested. So media could be important. And of course, we can research through our colleagues by asking them their experiences and what do they think should happen under the following set of circumstances. Now let's turn to courses, lectures and seminars. Well, this is a very traditional method of learning, most effective for auditory learners, people who want to listen. Go to a lecture or go to a class and listen to what has been said and make notes and learn from what's been said and take the notes. That's a very traditional method. Individuals gain knowledge and acquire critical abilities through formal lectures. We get information, we get knowledge, and we also learn to analyze the knowledge, analyze situations and try to work out why something is causing something else or what the relationship between two variables is. So we get critical abilities. When I say critical, I don't mean in a bad way, I mean critical in an analytical way. Critical looking into why certain relationships exist and what's causing them and how robust are they or how fragile are they. So individuals gain knowledge in lectures. They get to understand relationships, could be relationships in business or in engineering or in science, and they get to question why those relationships exist. Courses can now be offered by organizations to help employees receive the best type of training. These can be offered through a variety of courses and distance learning techniques. And it's increasingly the case that the internet has started to provide training videos and training classes and training sites where companies can buy in and get more generic material that will facilitate their own in-house training programs. So they can buy in classes, video classes perhaps from the internet, and then add in their own in-house material to train their workers as they require. It's easier to assess individual performances and feedback through discussions. So the situation where you have courses and lectures and seminars, well, individual performances can be assessed more readily in that situation. The information is the same for everyone, so what's their understanding of it? What's their individual understanding of it? And it's possible to have discussions and clarify any issues and sort out any problems. So lectures, seminars and tutorials and that sort of thing are traditional learning methods, still very important and still in many cases the bedrock for learning. So that completes our class on this topic, topic of learning from others. So let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.